Hey folks, I have a couple of um, tutorials here that I want to share with you about Affinity Designer. So let me share my screen here and you can take a look at this. Hopefully it's a little bit of more detail on how to work with the pen tool and how to work with layers. So sharing my screen here, I have some artwork that a student is working on here in our class, and she was so kind to share it with me, and I want to show you a couple of things about this project. So Megan has created a layer with a leaf and put that onto into a locked position. However, as she started building her poly shapes, she didn't create another layer. So they all just every time a new shape is created, it comes out here as a layer curve. The problem with that is that you can't grab everything and turn it on or off very easily. You would have to come over here and turn off each curve if you wanted to hide it. So optimally, you really want to have a separate layer so that you can control all of the poly shapes in one click. So let me demonstrate again how to create a layer. You can come down here to the layers panel and add a layer by clicking on this icon, or you can also just go up to layer, new layer, right? And you'll see immediately that this new layer is been added to your panel. Now here's the tricky part, getting existing, all these existing shapes into that layer. And I struggled with that myself a little bit because I'm new to this program. But what I did is you can grab each of them and just literally manually pop them in. I like to do things as quickly as possible. So I selected the curve at the top of the list and I went all the way down to the bottom and I held my shift key down and I selected the one on the bottom. That allowed me to select all of these curves at the same time. And then I'm just going to move them in to, I'm basically dropping them into this layer, right? And so you'll notice a couple things. You can drop it above the layer. You can do something strange by dropping it in and it looks like it creates a mask. You don't want to do that. But what you want to do is you want to activate the layer so that you'll see a little box come in underneath. So not on the top, not directly to the left, but underneath, and you just release. And you'll notice everything justifies a little bit to the right in this layer. And if I close this now, you'll see that I have moved everything in to that layer. And that now helps me just activate this layer by turning it on or off. Another thing I wanted to mention is that now that you have everything in one tidy location on a layer, you can also affect change with all of those individual shapes. So you can change the opacity. If you look at what I'm doing here in the image, I'm going from 100% opacity to completely transparent. And you can also use a blending mode. So the blending modes are kind of cool because they change the colors. Right? They create transparency often, right? And they change the colors. Now here's the next thing that I want to demo for you. I want to turn off the photo and I want to just look a little bit more carefully at the poly shapes, because this is where you're going to end up. Eventually you're going to turn off that photo. So you're going to end up here and you'll notice that there's gaps, right? And there's some gaps and then there's also some shapes that are over, they're laying over each other. So this is where you're going to use this node tool, it's called. I call it the white arrow tool. And you're going to come in and you need to zoom in. So learn how to use the zoom tool. It's zoom in and out, and there is the quick key right there. You're going to find your corners, and you're going to have to, let's see, you're going to have to, it looks like you're going to have to shift things around a little bit so that you can kind of close these gaps, because you don't want these gaps, right? And remember the other thing I mentioned, that we're going to get rid of the stroke lines. So this is a good time to do that. I'm going to select all of these objects, and I'm going to come up here to the color window, and I'm going to make sure that you'll see a circle and then another circle. This circle represents the stroke and the other one the color. So I'm going to toggle my color picker till I get to the strokes, and I'm going to select none by just clicking on this little circle with the diagonal line in it, right? And so you'll see over here now that I have now completely gotten rid of all of those stroke lines. This is where we want to end up with this drawing, but I still need to go in and fix all these gaps. So this is kind of that little detail work that you need to do as you get towards the end of this project. And I'm just showing you kind of some examples here of how you might do that. So you want to get rid of that distraction, and so there's a lot of little extra work that you need to do to kind of pull this together. So I think that's it. I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna upload this video so you can take a look at it, and hopefully if you have any questions, feel free to speak up, and we'll move on from there.